And welcome back to the ACC Championship post-game show that we have. I'm the coach, Dick Cox, joined by Kristy Palmer and Barry Toney. Well, guys and gals, the game kind of went as we expected tonight. Florida State, who was the dominant team, came in 29-point favorites, won 45-7 though. But, you know, for half a game, we had us a ball game. Duke came out 0-0 at the end of the quarter there, though. You know, your impressions on the first half?
I definitely think Duke was well prepared and more prepared than I thought they would be. A scoreless end of the first quarter, I definitely wasn't expecting that. I know Jameis Winston said that they beat themselves the first quarter, but I definitely think it was Duke's defense that were, giving him a lot of trouble.
Coach Toney, you still coach football like that. That is probably one of the hardest hitting games, college games I have seen in a long time. I know there was a spearing call late in the game, but it not only was a hard hitting game, but it was a clean, hard hitting game.
You're absolutely right there, Coach. I thought it was a very physical game, and I'll give credit both Duke and Florida State. Like you said, hey, they got out there, they hit, and there wasn't any dirty play at all. Toward the end of the game, there was one incident where Coach Cutcliffe, he didn't really agree with that call, and I kind of understand what he's talking about too. But hey, both teams playing a physical game, just like Coach Fisher said. Football is a very physical type game. He wants his kids to play physical, and he knows coming into the game tonight that Duke will be playing physical.
And he mentioned you don't make it to championship games by playing soft. You got to lay it on the line. And even he admitted that the spearing call was something he didn't think was intentional by the Duke player, that he was trying to make a hit. And unfortunately, and it's kind of bad Coach Cutcliffe missed, is a play that came late in the game, which is going to cost his player half of a bowl game because of that. And that is kind of costly. I'm not sure that was a senior player, but you hate if you're a senior to be suspended the first half if it's your final game. I'm not sure, again, what year the young man is, though. But, it's a good scenario and talking with Coach Cutcliffe, too, for his guys to get the experience. First time ever playing in a championship game. Now they get to go on to a bowl. Florida State, on the other hand, gets to go on and play for the national championship.
I don't even know what I'm trying to say right now. I definitely think that it was, unfortunate that the Duke player got, called for that. It definitely wasn't intentional, and for him to miss, like you said, half of the first bowl game. I know that they were bowl eligible last year, but it's not like Duke football goes to bowl games very often. So I think they had an awesome season, and I'm excited for them to have this championship under their belt, their first one ever. And I as hard as it is for me to say, I see a lot of good things from Duke coming in the future.
What were your thoughts? I know this is the first time you had a chance to go with me to ACC Basketball Day, and we even got you to like Coach K a little bit better. But how do you like Coach Cutcliffe and the down-to-earth guy he is?
He came from Tennessee, so of course I already liked him to start with. But he definitely has this program. Completely, it's done a 180. So he's got them going in the right direction, and I like the things he's doing at Duke.
Coach Toney, you and I both had the opportunity to sit down with Coach Fisher and with Coach Cutcliffe back before the season started. We talked to LaMarcus Joyner, who we had a chance to talk to post-game right there. And it's kind of interesting sitting back, that Coach Cutcliffe talked about by being here on this field last year for the Belk Bowl, how his guys were so hungry coming back for the off-season program. They got that taste in their mouth. They wanted to make it back. Well, not only did they make it back, they made it back to Charlotte again a week or 2 or 3 weeks earlier to play for the championship. But just talk a little bit about, dating back to when we talked to these guys preseason, what their hopes and goals were, to them actually coming out and slugging it out tonight for the championship.
Coach, as well as I, you and I both, we've attended the SEC media days and also ACC media days where there's always a tremendous amount of optimism and, people starting out, 0-0, but by about October, things have a tendency to change. But when both these situations right here, both those coaches pretty much hit the nail right on the head. Jimbo, he was very positive, upbeat about Florida State's chances this upcoming year with his players, and Coach Cutcliffe too. He was talking about he thinks this could be a very changing year, and based on the experience what they gained last year, and what happened tonight, he said even though they didn't get the result in which they would like, they can still experience this, and even though they're going to be hurt, and he said the healing process is more or less going to be starting when they start getting ready and practice for a major bowl bid.
And, and again, this was a good experience for them coming out and doing the things that they did, accomplished. I know, that it was not where they wanted to be, but, again, Duke's come a long way. Now Florida State has a chance to play for the national championship, and this is the interesting thing now. We all got what we wanted tonight, that the Ohio State Buckeyes were stopped after 24 wins in a row, and basically, everybody said all along, have played in the conference. It is not very good. Florida State's a good team, though. So what do you think? First of all, I'll go to Kristy. Matchup. Will Auburn play Florida State for the national championship, and how do you see your early predictions of what that game's going to be like?
I definitely think Auburn's going to be in the national championship game. We were talking, earlier that even if Ohio State won, and I think that Auburn, they won so convincingly over Missouri that, I think they were going to make it anyways. Or at least maybe it's just me being very hopeful that they would make it. I am kind of leaning towards Florida State in this matchup, especially after their players just kind of won me over in that interview, and just the leadership of their seniors that they have, and their mentality is the team aspect, and playing for the team, and it has nothing to do with individual stats and things like that. And I just really think that they have been focused on getting to this game since the spring.
Coach Toney, I'll get your take on this, because we both had the opportunity of hearing Coach Malzone both down in Birmingham. It's kind of funny, the SEC Championship game today was the two worst teams in the league last year, ended up being the top two teams this year, though. But your thoughts on Auburn playing for the national championship? I know your nephew's going to be turning backflips over that, though. And what do you think about the matchup?
Coach, I tell you what, this is going to be one in which I think everybody really wanted to see, and I really felt like coming into tonight that by Auburn winning convincing like they did in Ohio State, I feel like even if Ohio State would have won that game close, I think Auburn in points would have probably leaped to that number 2 spot. Now, in regards to picking, Coach, you know how I do in regards to picking. It seems like every time I pick a team, the team I pick ends up losing. And I don't know about putting a whammy on either one of those two teams, but I think going into the game, I think Florida State, by being number 1, I think they will be maybe a 3 or 4 point favorite. But in regard to who's going to win that ball game, I can't help but think about those Auburn Tigers. Look what's happened to them, the last 2 or 3 games of the season. Of course, that's not taking anything from Florida State, because they got an excellent ball club. But I'd say SEC might be 8 straight years.
I'm an SEC man right there, and I'm not going to deny it. I love what the hospitality the ACC gives us and all like that, though. But I'm going to come out and say right now, as much as I hate to say it, because I'm not really sold on him on and off the field, probably our Heisman Trophy winner. I think he will be the difference in that game, because I saw a hard-hitting Florida State defense today. We did not see any defense in Atlanta, Georgia today. I feel like the defense of Florida State will carry them, and I feel like Winston's passing abilities will have an advantage over Auburn's passing game, and I give the slight advantage to Florida State. As much as Mike Slive and I are friends, we're buddies, we're coach with the commish.
Well, I tell you what, Coach,
that's my first take right now. Now I can change it; it's still early.
What I'm going to enjoy, I enjoy the ACC, I enjoy the SEC. I'm glad we have this matchup, and all I can say, based on, and you got to look at it too, Coach. It's going to be about a month in between, and I know teams, prepare differently for a certain situation, but in this game right here, in regards to other bowls, they're going to be putting every stock and barrel into this particular game right here, because this is so-called, quote, for all the marbles.
All right,
it should be a great ball game.
Let's talk about, too, with the wins and losses today, how is that going to affect? Well, first of all, our in-state team, South Carolina. You had 3 teams ahead of them. They came in at number 8. You had 3 teams ahead of them that lost today. Where do you see them ending up in the bowl scenario right now? They were, a BCS team. Will they move up to a BCS game, possibly the Cotton Bowl or another bowl? How is this going to pan things out now with Auburn going to the national championship game? That's going to free up the Sugar Bowl now, because everybody thought that would be where the SEC champion normally goes to that game now. Well, the SEC champion goes to the championship game. This is going to throw the bowl scenarios in a loop. Any suggestions? I'm going to go to Kristy first on what you think. Are you like me? You hadn't got any idea?
I have no idea. this BCS system is a disaster anyway. There's honestly no telling where people are going to end up. South Carolina absolutely could end up, in the Sugar Bowl or, definitely a higher bowl game than where they would have been. It's anybody's guess at this point.
And the thing that kind of concerns me right now, two scenarios with this that we're hearing, possibly Clemson going to Orange Bowl, possibly Central Florida going to the Sugar Bowl. South Carolina played and beat both those teams already, and they don't like rematches in bowls. Now, will that be something, Coach Toney, that knocks South Carolina out of a BCA bowl? But they're going to be a higher-ranked team than both of those temes, and it does not seem fair that teams that they beat would get a chance to go for that opportunity over them.
Coach, you get right down to it. You got a valid point right there, but there's all this BCS stuff over the last years. Has it really been fair?
The BCS, you drop the C out of it, and it turns to BS.
What I think about the fair, and I know in Spartanburg County it comes about the second week in October. I know that, but in regards to where Carolina's going to be playing, I originally thought, they may be projected for, possibly over the Sugar Bowl, but with Central Florida being there, I think that's going to be a no-go. And then that we may have more confusion. Of course, we're going to have this settled by tomorrow night at 9 o'clock on the bowl selection committee, but you're looking at the Cotton Bowl, too, where Carolina and Coach Perry said earlier part of the week that he and, Coach Tanner, that's where they would like to be. But then on the other hand, you got LSU folks out there that's developing good ties with those Cotton Bowl people, too, and they're west and they're a little bit close. So.
But let me ask you this, though. You've got an LSU team that lost 3 games and lost Zach Menenberger, their starting quarterback, will not play in the bowl game. Do you want an LSU team with 3 losses and a backup quarterback playing in your BCS bowl?
Coach, I'll tell you what, regardless of all that, after it's all been said and done, usually there's more said than what's done. But what you got to look at in those regards, too, what happened in the latter part of that Arkansas game with that Jennings kid, that freshman coming in, leading them to a victory, and then, it's close proximity to the Cotton Bowl, and it's basically going to be one in which I know Commissioner Slav, he's going to have a lot of say-so, because when they have the bowl matchups, they're looking at from economic reasons also.
And, Coach, I will mention, Kristy, Coach Toney is an LSU fan. We'll throw that one out there, too, though. All right, let's talk a little bit right now, though, that, scenarios that we may be back on this field in several weeks, too. Your team, North Carolina, has a good chance of coming here to play in the Belks Bowl against a Cincinnati team that came and won here last year. What are your thoughts on that?
I'd love to see the Hills back here in Charlotte. I got to see them here, a few years ago when they played West Virginia. It didn't actually work out too well for us, but I know Bryn Renner, he's been hurt, and there's a possibility that he might be back in time for the bowl game. But their backup quarterback, whose name I cannot think of right now for whatever reason, I really think he stepped up and has honestly played better. So I'd look forward to seeing them here, and I think it'd be an awesome game. And I will mention that Bryn Renner sat in front of Kristy and I tonight, and I was getting ready to jump on him and tell him I was Davian Clowney. But she told me, she stopped me from doing that, while we also were stopping Coach Toney from raiding the Dr. Pepper machine, which I hope you know that we are supporting our Dr. Pepper hats tonight. Coach Toney ought to be wearing his with a logo like this instead, though. But we appreciate them giving us the hats tonight, and we are wearing those in support of them, though. So, Coach Toney, any predictions? You made some predictions to us when we were riding up the highway here. Would you like to share those of what your thoughts and your wow words of wisdom today were?
What particular?
I forgot now with all the stuff he said. What was your prediction? You said write it down, and I should have written it down.
What I told you to write down? Hey, that Auburn would be in the BCS. Even if Ohio State won, if it's close, by Auburn's blowout of the Missouri Tigers, that would put the Auburn Tigers in the BCS against Florida State.
Well, you were right on that one. Well, I will go ahead and say you're right.
I've been right all week here, Coach, on my predictions.
During the first quarter, he thought that FSU was going to lose today and that we were going to have an Alabama-Auburn rematch for the national title game. That would have been awesome.
And I had my fingers crossed that I made a prediction in the third quarter to Kristy that Duke was going to score the next 5 times they got the ball and win 35-31, being North Carolina fan she is. And she promised me she would have rolled herself in the blue paint in the Duke end zone and done snow angels on there, but she got off the hook on that one, so I'll keep trying for another day.
It's never going to happen.
Probably playing Florida State, it never will happen, though. All right, final thoughts tonight before we freeze on this cold field tonight. Thoughts on the experience of the game tonight and what you saw with the upcoming bowls.
This is my first ACC Championship game. I was excited to be here. It was exciting to see the #1 team in the nation, the team that's ultimately going to play for the national championship, and I'm going to go ahead and say that they're going to win it as well. But I just was really impressed with Florida State's defense, and as I said again, and I'll give credit where credit's due, even though I'm a Carolina fan, Duke, they've come a long way, and I think there's going to be a lot more good things come out of that program.
And we will go back and we will say a North Carolina fan, because us from South Carolina think there's only one South Carolina fan.
North, exactly. There's only one.
Just like Captain Munnerlin is going to say in his introduction Sunday night that he is from USC, the USC from Gamecocks. We got to get that crate. When you say Carolina, we think South Carolina down below the border where we live, though. And I will ask you right here, too, on your closing thoughts. Does this bring back memories being on the sidelines freezing down here where you spent many a Sunday afternoon?
It really does. We were down here at the end of the Panthers game last Sunday, and I was brought back memories, brought back a little tear. I miss being down here, but it's kind of nice being up there with some popcorn and a soda and being warm.
72 degrees.
72 and sunny.
All right, Coach Toney, your final thoughts.
All right, my final thoughts of these, Coach. Two excellent football teams, Florida State, which certainly be going to Pasadena. And I tell you what, some of the loudest cheers from the Duke fans, and I tell you what, there was still a large contingency of Duke fans here at the end of the game, and when Duke scored, you would have thought they would have won the game. And I think that's a tribute to the program and Coach Cutcliffe and how the people appreciate what they've done this year, and they'll use this as a stepping stone for bigger and better things. And certainly a very high-top bowl bid is going to be awaiting tomorrow.
And Coach Toney, I will confess that was me that was cheering next to you, not the Duke fans over there. I know they were behind you, but that was me because Kristy and I had a bet going on whether they get shut out or not. And I was betting on that, though. They were not going to top the spread on the night, though, but I was happy. And, again, like I say, I'm happy for Duke to have the experience. I think that's good. I'm sounding like a quote from, the movie Hoosiers, for all the little schools, and I say the schools that are not strong football powers, to get a chance to play for a championship. It's a great experience. Hopefully, like Coach Cutcliffe said, it'll hurt enough they want to get back and do something about it next year, and it'll be a great experience for them, though. Again, unfortunately, we got kind of what we thought was going to happen tonight, though, but I had fun hanging out with you two tonight. We had a lot of fun. It's been fun. It's been chilly. We'll do it again in the future sometime soon, though. This is Coach Cox, Dick Cox, along with Kristy Palmer and Barry Toney, saying we'll see you down the road. Tune in for our next broadcasts. Good night, everybody.